guess we can go ahead and get started. So first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it too.
Yeah, no problem. You're technically living one day in the future. So how's the future looking?
Well, I'm in Melbourne at the moment, so we're currently in lockdown.
Oh, okay.
Great.
That that's so interesting because most of the people that I've talked to, like even the ones that have been in lockdown for quite a while, like in Britain and different places like that, now are starting to open back up. So Melbourne is still on lockdown.
We were actually opened up, and then last week we started getting a few cases, and they locked us up straight away.
Hmm.
And since the lockup, we've been getting 10 or 11 cases every day. Um, yeah, so we've been locked up since last Thursday. It's supposed to end this Thursday, but I'm not sure that it will.
Have they did they know like what's the cause? Because I know Australia is very strict about who's coming in the country, who's coming out, that kind of thing. So did they know like how like do they have a trace on where
Yeah, they do have a trace on where it came from.
Mhm.
Um, I haven't really been watching it that much because I don't want to get too depressed. Because last year we spent 4 months in lockdown.
Yeah. Well,
Pretty
that's
much.
I mean that's a big problem with this pandemic too, is because people are becoming like really mentally stressed. So it's one of those things. It's not only a physical thing, but for even those who aren't affected by the pandemic itself, like by the virus itself, they're going through like a lot of mental issues. Like that's what we kind of been hearing over the last year and what half a year and a few months that we've been dealing with this. So yeah, it's probably a good thing that you're not listening to the news.
Yeah, I don't really want to listen to it because I don't want to pre-stress anything that hasn't happened.
Hmm.
Um, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was actually talking to somebody just recently about how like we worry about things and 90% of what we like worry about doesn't happen. And so it's
Yeah,
like so it doesn't we make it so much worse than it actually ends up being. So
yeah, I don't worry about it really until it happens.
yeah. So
Um,
how I was going to ask you to kind of go on the off the tangent on pandemic and into the topic of fitness. How did you get into like training, fitness, competition in general?
I actually got into fitness when I was younger. Like from the age of 4, my dad used to take me running. I used to play soccer and football, AFL football and netball, um, bike riding, rollerblading, everything. I was a very active child with me and my brother, very similar age. When I was older, I was a little bit aggressive for competitive sports, so I started doing started doing running, um, and just then got into sort of more sort of marathon sort of running. Like I got really skinny and wanted to do a fitness competition back in 2007. I was way too thin. So I hired a PT and over 12 months put on 5 kilos.
Oh wow.
Um, did
Yeah.
this fitness competition, fell in love with the gym, um, kept training, but never really for hypertrophy until I probably about 2011 when I got a little bit older, gave up, you know, partying, going out, focusing on career, and got really passionate about, I suppose, sort of fitness because just working for me is boring, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
No,
I
I
like to
completely
have
understand.
something going on. And yeah, I loved like sort of the release of lifting weights. Then started competing again in 2012, 12-ish, I think.
Mhm.
Just kept going, progressing from there. I fell in love, like I love every single part of prep, like the discipline, the
Mhm.
excitement of seeing the changes. And
Yeah.
I think that goal as well.
Well, let me ask you this. You said you started competing again, you know, what, 12, you said about 12 or so, 2012. Oh, is that about right? Okay.
That
So you took
yes.
a break. What was the reason for the break? You just didn't feel like competing, or
I didn't. I competed in 2007. I still kept training, but to be
Mhm,
honest, I was studying at uni. I was living the party life. I wasn't thinking about,
mhm,
I wanted to do a fitness show because I wanted to be a fitness model and
mhm.
I want to look pretty. It wasn't like a passion of mine. I enjoyed the training, but I was more focused on getting my university degree,
Mhm.
and like having fun with my friends, to be honest, because I lived with a DJ, so
So every day was a party.
uh yeah, it got yeah. It was it would have been very difficult for me to study at university, work, live with a DJ, and commit to bodybuilding.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
when I sort of got all over that stuff, I was like, you know, I need something else for myself, not just work.
Hmm. So you're a pro, correct?
Yes.
So when did you get your pro card?
I got my pro card this year in March.
Oh wow, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So you actually, some people, I don't want to say most, but some people, downgraded kind of during this pandemic. You seem to have come out on top. So during this whole thing, you ended up getting your pro card. Is there a lot of shows in Australia? Or how easy was it to, you know, to pick a show during this time, to because I assume you probably didn't get a chance to go out of the country. Tell us about that.
Mm. So I basically, the last time I competed was 2019, and that
Mhm,
was the first time I did women's physique. So I
mhm,
progressively went up in categories as I got bigger and bigger.
mhm,
Um, as soon as I heard there might be a potential lockdown, I was like, I've taken like 9 years to put on this size. Like, I'm a female. I'm not getting defeated by this. There's no chance. So I went out before everything was bought. I bought a full gym setup and set up um, the bottom floor of my house as a gym because I've got a
mhm,
three-story townhouse. And I just went all out, everything I needed to not just maintain, but grow.
mhm,
And I spent the whole of last night so just doing that. I did start prepping for season B last year, sort of knowing that it might not occur, but again, once just ignoring, I saw the benefits of doing that would be dropping a little body fat so that I could rebound with a bit more muscle growth, see where my weaknesses were. Um, so that's basically what I did. I used it as sort of a motivation to beat to beat it, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. No, well, yeah. I mean, you definitely beat it. You got your pro card, during this whole
Yes.
time. So well, you said you got some things for the gym. Now I've got my home gym, and I'm sure yours is way better. But what kind of things did you get? Were you able to get like machines, or was this all just free weights and that kind of
So
thing?
So I actually preempted the lockdown. So most people waited until it was hit
Yeah,
and
that
then
that was
everything was
me.
gone. So I got a cable machine, lat pull down bars, incline bench, Smith machine, dumbbells from 5 kilos to 45,
Mhm.
leg press, hack squat, like everything I needed that
Wow.
I could, like I said, not just maintain, but grow.
Yeah, you could start. You could start charging membership fees.
I
You
could, but we're not allowed to have guests.
Oh, so yeah, so it's pretty like when you say lockdown, it's like locked down. There's no,
Now, 5 kilometer radius.
yeah, yeah.
Figuring that out.
Yeah, that's tough. So talked about being kind of athletic in your early life as a child, as a kid, and then you started doing a lot more like cardiovascular type exercise. You lost a lot of weight, so you look very lean. Is that something that just comes easy to you to stay lean? Because I also saw that you're in the women's physique, which is quite a big jump from the way you described yourself in your earlier life where you said you were very thin. I mean, the women's physique, you're considered on the larger end of muscle mass in the industry, So how did that, come about?
I do. It definitely is genetic that we're all sort of thin.
Mhm.
Like genetically, my body shape is thin. The
Mhm.
women in my family, we're all thin. Like size, I'm talking size 4, size 6.
Mm.
Um, we've all got fast metabolisms. My brother and my dad, they can eat like horses and not put on weight. It's just I don't know, good genetics.
That's just not fair. That's just not fair.
But no one in my family is fat, and we're Italian as well. So
Okay.
I had a carb-rich diet when I was younger, like um, which might have helped as well, my carb tolerance, because I can
Mhm.
eat quite a lot of carbohydrates and not put on weight because I was active and ate them a lot as a child. But yeah, genetically, I actually find it hard to put on a lot of body fat.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask you then the follow-up question that I had. Generally speaking, people that have a hard time like putting on like fat or weight, they have a harder time putting on muscle. But again, as I said, you're in women's physique, so you're obviously like that. You got to that point. How hard was it to put on the muscle for you? Was it difficult? Was there some struggles in that?
Um, not really. Every show I've really progressed, but I've realized that rather than forcing more food, it I actually grow a lot better when I do a lot less volume.
Mm.
Because if I do too much volume, it's basically like burning more calories for someone with my metabolism.
Yeah.
So I train heavy, less volume. I eat the food even if I'm not hungry. Like I'll put in a kilo of rice before training, a kilo after, and then a kilo before bed.
Mm.
And I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat it, but I want to win. So
Yeah.
if I don't eat the food, I don't deserve the win. You know,
It's pretty, I
it's
mean, it's a pretty simple way
same in
to
off
look at it.
season as on season, right? Like if you want it, you'll do it.
Yeah. That's so your style of training is more like to the way Dorian Yates was doing it, which is like less volume, more recovery time, heavy weights.
Mm. I've had coaches before in the past that have put me on more volume, and nothing happened, and I just ended up having to eat ridiculous amounts of food, and
Hmm.
it was yuck. Like it
Yeah.
was yuck, and I felt like I was wasting my time.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely find that like I didn't need to do cardio coming into my last show,
Wow.
so yeah, I literally just do smart programming, and I base all my programming off like Joe Bennett. He's
Hmm.
amazing,
Yeah.
you know, trophy coach.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and since I've started using his methods, I've really seen some really good gains.
Yeah.
So I think it's just understanding my body's response to
Sure,
things.
sure. No, I mean, that's a huge thing, right? To understand yourself, or if you're a coach, to understand your athlete, because everybody's different. And it sounds like a cliche. People say that all the time. Oh, everybody's different, everybody's different. And sometimes that's an excuse to not put in the work. But in reality, I mean, that is true.
Yeah,
And so so the same things that work for one person may not work for someone else, especially when you get, excuse me, especially when you get to a high like competitive level, like a professional athletic level. We're not talking about someone who's just coming to the gym to just kind of be active. We're talking about somebody who's competitive and is going to shows and being analyzed for the way they look, each striation, each how much body fat you have, all that stuff is getting analyzed. So do you see yourself, you said that you're progressing, and you've progressed up to women's physique. Do you see yourself going that next final step to women's bodybuilding, or you think you're going to stay at this point, at this level?
I think I want to stay here.
Mhm.
Like I think, like you said before, I'm already at the bigger end of women's physique.
Right.
I don't want to go into. I respect bodybuilding, but I think I've got a nice a nice balance for women's physique of femininity and muscularity.
Mhm.
And I really like that look for
Yeah.
myself. I'm not sure that I have the correct shape for women's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't want to progress
Yeah.
any further
Yeah.
really. But
Yeah.
I do
That's.
want to come overseas, so
I'm sorry. Say again. I couldn't hear you.
definitely do want to come overseas.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, and well, and I think I kind of mentioned it, but I don't know if we actually discussed it. What is the show scene? And I know now you're in a lockdown, so there's nothing, probably nothing happening. But what is the like the look of the map, so the map layout for shows as far as Australia is concerned? Like, are there a lot of shows going on? Not so many.
We don't do pro women's physique.
Oh, you
Um,
don't? Wow.
no, so we wanted to come over in August and do 2 shows back to back in the US, and then perhaps September. But reality is that's probably not going to happen. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, and I'm really hoping that I'll be able to come over for season A next year,
Hmm.
and then if I don't get the results I want, season B.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you would it be easier to make it to Europe, or it doesn't really matter as far as like you know?
No, it's not about. I could probably get overseas, being a
Hmm.
professional athlete, getting some contracts and things like that. It's
Hmm.
more coming back to isolate. We have to isolate for 2 weeks in the hotel, and there'd be no point in isolating um, unless I, and then, if I was to say qualify for the Olympia by doing a couple of shows back to back, then come back and have to isolate, then fly out again. I don't know.
Yeah, that seems like because of the. Now that you mentioned that, I do recall. So there's some MMA fighters that are from that
Yeah.
New Zealand, Australia type of area, and they all like you would have to quarantine for 2 weeks. Now I recall you when you said that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's almost like when you go, you need to do as much as you can while you're out before you come back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if the
So,
goal is obviously everyone's goal, and even if it's unrealistic, is to qualify for the Olympia,
mhm.
then there'd be no point doing it this year, because to quarantine for 2 weeks when I came back and then fly out again,
Yeah.
that would sort of, yeah. So it'd be better to do it in season A next year.
How did they? Let me ask you this: how did they? And this is a little off topic. How did they? Like, why? Like, do they watch you? Like, how do they know you're quarantining? Is there a certain area that you go to? Is there someone that keeping up with you?
I suppose they just trust us, and if we get pulled over by the cops when we're driving, they ask us why we're outside of 5Ks and look at our license, and then fine us if we are.
Ah, I see.
If
I
we're
see.
actually supposed to be quarantining, they apparently have door knockers and issue $5,000 fines if you're not home.
I see. So it's very expensive to not obey.
Yeah, it's expensive to know, right?
Yeah.
If you're supposed to be quarantined and you get a $5,000 fine, um, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think they're just monitoring it really by pulling people over and trusting.
Got it.
People are doing it, checking businesses are closed, like door knocking on businesses, watching businesses.
Got it. So you're thinking, and I'm sorry, I might have not heard you correctly. What are you planning? What months are you planning to compete in next as a pro?
Well, if we don't open our borders this year, it'll be season A next year.
Hmm. So
100%.
so so not you're thinking this year is kind of not going to be an option.
Unless we open our borders, I don't think it will be an option.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is because like
It's
I'm
not
I'm
opening our borders until October.
Right, right. I'm looking at, your physique now, and it's like you look like you're in great shape. Is this just you coming off the March competition season, or is this like your off-season look?
I'm probably about 2 kilos below what I normally sit in off season now.
Hmm. Got it. So
So
almost, yeah, at that.
yeah, I never really am more than 8 weeks out, really.
That's smart. That's smart. That's smart. That's smart. Not
I'd still be around your 12 to 13% body fat. I just
yeah.
hold it really well.
Yeah, that's smart to do that because I mean, as a pro now, you'll probably get a lot of like photo shoots and things like that, and you want to be within not only just for competition purposes, but also
Yeah.
just things like that for opportunities that might come up. You know, you're at least in striking distance of where
Yeah.
you want to be. So
And if I start eating, like cramming the food in, because I'm already, eating maintenance slight surplus and it's already uncomfortable. If I start cramming the calories in, there's a risk that I'll grow too big.
mhm.
It's all that sort of thing as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me let me ask you this: what do you think about the fact that Shanique Grant, retired? Were you surprised by that, or is that something that you kind of expected?
I was actually surprised that she retired because she's got such an incredible shape. Like it's so unique. But then sort of looking at her posts, it does seem like she was a little bit unhappy,
Mhm.
the last year doing the shows. I'm not sure if the rumors are true that she's going to be doing wellness.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but that would be interesting because I mean, to me, she doesn't look, doesn't have a wellness look to her.
Mm,
But of course, I mean, who knows? If someone wants to do a certain division, they can definitely sculpt their body differently. But her structure doesn't seem like a wellness structure to me. So,
no, like yeah. So I'm surprised that she retired. To be quite honest,
mhm.
because she's quite young, but maybe she does want a family,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
maybe she'll get back into it later.
yeah.
I, yeah, I was surprised that she retired, but looking at her posts and reading what she wrote before that,
Mhm.
it doesn't look like she had the happiest prep, and she's had injuries.
Yeah. So as far as like you're concerned, do you find and we see both sides, right? We see this side of Shanique where someone is unhappy um, with bodybuilding, with the process, and others just love it. It's like, do you go through struggles during like your prep? I know you say you stay pretty lean, you stay within striking distance. Is that just something that your body's just really genetically built for that, or do you have to struggle during that time?
Actually, I, the last prep I had, I really loved it. It was amazing. Like it was the best time of my life. It was so good.
Yeah.
Um, I enjoy prep.
Mhm.
I actually enjoy prep.
Got it. Yeah, it's amazing just how sometimes I wonder if the people that deal with those kind of issues were kind of dealing with them before, and they were maybe just using fitness as to kind of like mask it. I'm not talking about Shanique. I'm just saying in general, because a lot of times like those kind of concerns can if they're depression and so forth, it's like you can resist them for a while, but a lot of times you need like real help, and just lifting weights is not enough. It helps, training helps, but sometimes it's just not enough.
No, I just love it. I love the process.
Yeah.
I can't explain why. I seem to get more like happier in mood.
Hmm.
Um, I just really enjoy prep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That means that you're on your way to basically, you could win any show as long, especially 8 weeks out. I mean, you could be knocking shows off, back to back.
Yeah.
As hopefully with, borders will become open and things will get better, then you'll have more opportunities, to it really comes down to, I would think for you, is just picking the right show. If you can pick
Yeah.
the right show, you can win, and then that's all you need. You just need one win, and you're in the Olympia. So,
That's what I'm doing. I'm going to pick shows that are like very close together and hop around the country,
mhm.
so I can at least get points.
Right,
Um,
right.
it's going to be very structured and well planned.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of need it. Kind of needs to be right. Like we're just kind of in
Yeah,
that at
it's
that
hard, yeah.
point. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So do you train people as well? Do you coach people or?
I do train people and coach people. I actually spent the whole weekend rewriting programs for people who have different equipment that are coming up to shows and prepping for season B.
Mhm,
So wrote them all individualized programs based on what equipment they have,
mhm,
and sort of helping them. So I coach and train a few people. My main role is corporate though.
mhm.
Um, I just do coaching and training more as a passion now because I know my stuff. So
Right, right. Obviously, yeah, yeah. You're a professional athlete. Obviously, you know your stuff. You can pass that knowledge, down
yeah.
down to the to others. So majority of your, I would say, majority of your the people that you train are competitive. Is that
Um, I've got three competitors
mhm,
and two non-competitors.
got it?
Um, yeah, so there's one of them who's a non-competitor is amazing. I love training. I love training him. So I don't just take on anyone if that makes sense. Like it's a
Hmm.
passion, a hobby.
Right.
So if I actually think that someone's going to benefit and willing to listen and learn, I'd love to help them. And he's achieving his goals, and it's just amazing for me to witness that. So I love doing that. Um, but yeah, I've got three competitors at the moment. One coming up for a show, and two coming up for season B. I don't think I'll take on many more.
Hmm.
It's really
Yeah.
unless the right person comes along. Yeah,
Right, right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, of course, it's like if it's not your primary job, there's no reason. You can be a little bit picky, you don't need to just take everybody on. Plus, if you take more people on, sometimes what happens is I just had a show with a friend of mine, and we were talking about just coaches and how a lot of times you end up getting um, cookie cutter programs, and people basically are just, I don't want to use the word scam, but essentially that's what it is. And really
yeah,
what happens is that you get so many clients that you aren't able to give them the time that they need, and
yeah.
that's unfortunate.
I
So
wouldn't, I wouldn't do that even to myself because I'm a psycho overanalyzer. Like all of my clients have adjusted programs tailored for their weaknesses
yeah.
and with what equipment they have. So none of them are the same.
Right.
Um, yeah. So I'd
Hmm.
probably be working 24 hours a day if I took on too many clients because I wouldn't be able to just, I'm a bit OCD like that. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't just be like, okay, here's a program for everyone. No.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. So I noticed that one of your clients that you mentioned was a man. Sometimes when I talk to women, they'll only coach women, or they'll only coach people within like their, like in your case it would be like, oh, I only coach people that are in women's physique. Do you take a variety? Are you
Um,
comfortable with a variety of
three of my
people?
four clients are men.
Okay, okay. There you go. That-
I don't mind working with men actually.
yeah.
A lot less emotional as well when they come to prep. But my prep client, my female prep client, she's amazing, and
Mhm.
she is going to once we get her on stage, she's going to wow a lot of people. She's got an
Wow.
incredible.
Okay, we look forward to seeing that.
Like
Is she
season
in
B,
is she in women's physique as well?
she'll be doing figure.
Oh, figure. Okay. Yeah, yeah. That'll be interesting. That's another division that now is like just so popular, and they have some amazing athletes in there, just so balanced. Yeah. Yeah, it's a
Incredible, and the waists are like so tiny,
oh yeah,
so
yeah.
tiny.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, how does that even happen? Like, how do you have that much muscle and your waist be so small? That I mean, of course, one is genetics. You don't get to that point without having the genetics, but two, it's all the hard work that they put in there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing your client and see, what happens. Is this a local client? Are these people that are local in Australia?
Um, yes.
Mhm.
So a couple of local and a couple local but far from me.
Got it.
Had some inquiries for online overseas clients.
Mhm.
We'll see how I go. If I'll have to do some consults and see if
Yeah.
I mesh with them.
Right. So everything is basically done online, even if it is in Australia, correct?
Um, no, I so do face-to-face PT with
Oh, you do?
2 or
Okay.
4 clients. Yes.
How does that if
Because,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, because I want to ensure that they're training correctly because I want them to win. So
How did the lockdown affect that? No, have you switch over to online, or do you? I mean, what are the situation there?
so the lockdowns obviously disabled me. I'm not able to take the face-to-face sessions.
Hmm.
I still do the coaching though.
Hmm.
But I just can't train them face to
Right.
face. So
Right. Yeah, you definitely don't want to pay that 5,000 whatever they charge for catching you. Like,
yes.
that's crazy. Yeah. Wow, that's terrible. Well, so at this point, like if somebody wanted to contact you, like what would be the best way to reach out to you, see if you're a good, the you and that person would be a good mesh.
Probably by my email or
Mhm.
Instagram. I don't really respond to that many people if I don't know them, unless they specifically say what they're after.
Which I'm glad you
Um,
responded to me. There you go. That's
yeah, Instagram or my email address, really.
awesome. Awesome. Great.
So there's a link in my Instagram bio to my email
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
contact me.
And I'll link everything below. And Kristen, thank you so much for coming on the show. I wish you all the best, and hopefully we can get you over here to the U.S. to compete a few times, get a win, and then get you on that Olympia stage. So
I hope so.
yeah,
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen
yeah,
eventually.
it will.
But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of
It's
course.
been fun talking to you.
I'm sorry.
Highlight of been fun talking to you. The highlight of my ISO day.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a highlight of mine as well. You have a great rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.